Now let's start reading the poem and try and understand it. And I'd like to remind you that let's treat it as an open ended text. Let's remember that poetry has no definite, certain, fixed meaning, right? You're free to interpret it the way you want to. And I'm just here to express my thoughts and my interpretation of the poem. So here we have the first voice asking all the questions and the second voice responding. So the whole poem, as I was saying, is in the form of a dialogue between two voices. We don't know whether it's a man's voice or it's a woman's voice or it's a man and a woman or two women or two men, right? So that part is a little ambiguous. So, voice number one or speaker number one asks, does the road wind uphill all the way? And the second speaker says, yes, to the very end. So, the first question is, does the road wind uphill? Now, what's a winding road? Let's go to the previous slide to understand what's a winding road. Now, do you see this road here? If you look at this road, you will realize that after a point, you can't see what lies ahead because there's a bend, right? It turns, it keeps turning. So, when you have a road going around a hill, you call it a winding road. So, obviously, here, what happens if you are on a winding road? You do not know what lies ahead, right? You can't see what lies ahead. So that's perhaps the anxiety and the apprehension of the speaker, that is it going to be a winding road up all the way, or is it ever going to be a straight road? Because if it's a winding road, I will never be able to see what's around the bend. And look at the other speaker. The other speaker says yes to the very end. So I'm afraid you're going to have to deal with this winding road, because life is all about bends and turns and twists and turns. Life is something which unfolds on an everyday basis, right? We don't know what's going to happen the next moment. So if you compare life to a road, it's a winding road for sure. We think it's a straight road, but it's definitely a winding road where we don't know what lies ahead of us. Now, the second question, will the day's journey take the whole long day? So, how long will I have to travel for? How long is this journey? And the response is, from morn to night, my friend. That is, from morning to night. Now, morning to night over here doesn't mean from sunrise to sunset, from actual sunrise to actual sunset, but from the time we are born to the time we die. It is a journey, right? So, this life is like one whole day, and then there are phases in that day, like we have phases in our life. So, that's the first stanza for you. Let's look at the second stanza. Now the person asks, speaker number one asks, but is there for the night a resting place? So will I be able to rest if I'm very tired? And the response is, a roof for when the slow dark hours begin. Now let us look at the adjectives very carefully. What are the hours like? They are slow, they are dark, right? Now, if you compare this period, slow, dark hours, with misery or problems in our life. When we are happy, when everything is going right with our life, time seems to just fly, right? But when we are faced with a problem, or we are experiencing a difficult phase, or when we are going through a rough patch or a difficult patch in our life, time just seems to crawl, right? So that is perhaps what is meant by slow, dark hours. And at during that time when we are in the middle of a crisis or a difficulty, we feel shattered, we feel so exhausted, we feel tired. I mean, I'm sure you must have come across people who are in the middle of a crisis or a difficult who might be facing a personal problem or a professional problem, and they might be saying, I can't take it anymore. I just feel like going away somewhere. I just feel like running away somewhere, right? So this is what tiredness implies, that sometimes you're just so exhausted dealing with life's problems. So when that point comes, is there a resting place? And the second speaker assures the first speaker that yes, there is a roof for when the slow dark hours begin. So the message the second speaker is trying to give us is that never lose hope, because it might seem to be a very bad patch in your life. Things might seem very difficult for you, but there's always hope. There's always someone to help you. There's always a solution to a problem. And then the first speaker, continuing the metaphor of the travel, says, may not the darkness hide it from my face? So, if there is a resting place, what if I miss it? What if it's too dark and I'm not able to see it? And the response is, you cannot miss that inn. In is sarai, sarai khana, as in where you stop, where you halt when you are on a journey. In days of yore, in olden days, you had inns for travelers who would travel by road, because it would take days to reach from one place to another, and there would be roadside inns which would offer food and lodgings. So this second person is pretty sure that you can't miss that in. So, in other words, what the poem is trying to tell us is that even when you feel that you're surrounded by darkness, you're surrounded by problems, you're surrounded by grief, there is going to be some solution. There will be a resting place for you. You might feel you're terribly tired, exhausted, and still you have to go on. No, take a break. There is going to be a resting place, and you will find it, or it will find you, right? So, definitely the resting place, the inn, is going to find you. So, like I was saying, that she was into a lot of religious poetry, Rossetti, right? So, here again, the unmentioned invisible presence is God. That if God gave you your share of problems, your lot of problems, God is also going to give you the solutions. So the message is that God gives us only so much as we can handle, right? Um, God gives us only so much problems, or so many challenges, or so many problems, or so many obstacles that we can handle. So, definitely, if there's a problem, it means that here, what the poet means is that definitely God knows that we are capable of handling it, and we're going to be assisted on the way. We are going to find support, and that's the reason we are going through this crisis, because there is hope at the other end. This is not going to last forever.